The conference room felt like a courtroom. Cold, silent, suffocating. Neka sat at the long mahogany table, her hands folded neatly in her lap, trying to stop them from shaking. Across from her sat Mama Obi, her future mother-in-law, dressed in expensive lace with gold dripping from her neck and wrists. The older woman's face was carved from stone. No warmth, no welcome, only judgment. Beside Neka sat Keen, the man she loved, the man who had promised to stand by her through everything. But right now, he was staring at the table, his jaw tight, his silence louder than any words. In front of Neka lay a thick document, a prenuptial agreement. She had heard of such things before, but never imagined she would be forced to sign one. Especially not like this. Mama Obi pushed the papers closer with one manicured finger. "Read it," she said, her voice cold and sharp. "So there is no confusion about what you are and what you are not entitled to." The words on the page blurred through Neka's tears. But one phrase stood out, written in bold. Due to the bride's lack of lineage, assets, and social standing, she hereby waives all claims. Golddigger. They were calling her a golddigger. And Keen said nothing. Not one word in her defense. Neka had not come from wealth. Her father was a school teacher. Her mother sold vegetables in the market. They lived in a small house with a leaking roof and windows that rattled when the wind blew. But they were proud people, honest people, who taught Neka that education was the only inheritance they could give her. And she had taken that inheritance seriously. While other children played, Neka studied. She taught herself coding from borrowed textbooks and free online courses, sitting in internet cafes long after everyone else had gone home. By 23, she had a degree in computer science and a mind that saw patterns and solutions others missed. She worked for a small tech company during the day, but at night, she worked on her own project, a revolutionary platform that could connect businesses and consumers in ways no one had thought of before. She called it her dream code. And she had shared that dream with only one person, Keen. She met him at a tech conference where he was representing his family's import-export business. He was charming, educated, and kind, or so she thought. He listened to her ideas with genuine interest, encouraged her ambitions, and eventually told her he loved her. "You are brilliant, Neka," he would say, holding her close. "One day the world will see what I see." She believed him. She believed in their future together. She believed that love could bridge the gap between their worlds. But she was wrong. The engagement had been beautiful at first. Keen proposed with a simple but elegant ring, promising her a lifetime of partnership and respect. "My family will love you," he assured her. "Just give them time to know you." But when Keen brought her home to meet his family, the atmosphere changed immediately. His father, a retired businessman, was polite but distant. His siblings looked her up and down with barely concealed disdain. And Mama Obi made no effort to hide her contempt. "So you are the girl," she said, not even offering her hand. "The one my son met at some conference." Neka tried to smile, tried to be warm despite the coldness radiating from the woman. "Yes, ma'am. It is an honor to meet you." Mama Obi's eyes swept over Neka's modest dress, her simple shoes, her lack of expensive jewelry. "My son tells me you work with computers." "How modern?" The way she said modern made it sound like an insult. Over the following weeks, Mama Obi began investigating Neka's background. She asked questions about her parents' occupations, her family's property, her financial status. Each answer seemed to deepen her disapproval. A market woman's daughter, Mama Obi whispered to her friends at church, loud enough for Neka to hear. "That is who my son wants to marry. A girl with nothing." Keen tried to reassure Neka. "Ignore her. She will come around." But he never confronted his mother, never defended Neka publicly. And that silence planted the first seed of doubt in Neka's heart. The family dinner was supposed to be a celebration, a formal announcement of the upcoming wedding. Neka wore her best dress, practiced her greetings, and brought a homemade dessert her mother had taught her to make. But when she arrived at the Obi mansion, the atmosphere was hostile. The family sat around the dining table like a tribunal. Mama Obi at the head, her husband beside her, Keen's siblings watching with smug expressions. Keen pulled out a chair for Neka, but his hand was trembling. Halfway through the meal, Mama Obi set down her fork with a deliberate clink. We need to discuss something important before this wedding proceeds. Neka's stomach tightened. Yes, ma'am. Mama Obi reached into a leather folder beside her chair and pulled out a thick document. This is a prenuptial agreement. It is standard practice in families of substantial means. She slid it across the table to Neka. You will sign it before any wedding takes place. Neka's hand shook as she picked up the papers. As she read, her vision blurred with tears and rage. The document did not just protect the family's assets. It humiliated her. It listed reasons for the agreement. The bride's lack of family wealth, absence of substantial assets, inferior social connections, and questionable motives for pursuing this union. Questionable motives. They were calling her a fortune hunter, a gold digger, in writing, for everyone to see. She looked at Keen, silently begging him to say something, anything. But he only stared at his plate, his face pale, his jaw clenched. And in that moment, Neka understood. He would not fight for her. He loved his family's approval more than he loved her dignity. Sign it, Mama Obi said, her voice cold and final. Or there will be no wedding. Neka's throat tightened. Keen, she whispered, please, say something. He finally looked at her, and she saw shame in his eyes, but not enough to make him speak. Not enough to make him stand up to the woman who had raised him. It is just a formality, Neka, he said weakly. It does not change how I feel about you. A formality? Neka's voice cracked. They're calling me a gold digger. They're saying I am marrying you for money. How was that just a formality? Mama Obi's smile was thin and cruel. If you're not a gold digger, then why does signing bother you? Unless, of course, you were planning to take what does not belong to you. The siblings snickered. Keen said nothing. Neka felt something break inside her chest. Not just her heart, but her sense of self-worth, her belief that love could overcome anything. She looked around the table at the faces staring at her with contempt or indifference. Then she looked down at the document that reduced her to nothing more than a scheming opportunist. Her hand stopped shaking. A strange calm settled over her. She picked up the pen, and with steady strokes, she signed her name. Mama Obi smiled triumphantly. Good. Now we can proceed without any misunderstandings. But as Neka set the pen down, she met Mama Obi's eyes directly. You are right about one thing, she said quietly. I do not belong in this family, and I never will. She stood, pulled the engagement ring from her finger, and placed it on the table. The wedding is off. Keen's chair scraped back as he jumped to his feet. Neka, wait. But she was already walking toward the door, her head high despite the tears streaming down her face. Behind her, she heard Mama Obi's sharp voice. Let her go. Good riddance. We are better off without a gold digger in this family. Keen followed her outside, grabbing her arm. Neka, please. Do not do this. We can work it out. I will talk to my mother. She turned to face him, and the look in her eyes made him step back. You had your chance to talk to her, Keen. You had your chance to defend me. But you sat there in silence while they humiliated me. You let them call me a gold digger and said nothing. I was trying to keep the peace, he said desperately. My mother is difficult, but she will come around. No, Neka interrupted, her voice firm. She will not, and you will never stand up to her. I see that now. She pulled her arm free. I loved you, Keen. I thought you were different, but you're just like them, more concerned with money and status than with the person standing beside you. That is not fair, he protested. Is it not? Her laugh was bitter. You know what is not fair? Being judged by where I come from instead of who I am. Being forced to sign a document that paints me as a villain. Being told I am not good enough. She stepped back, creating distance. I will not marry into a family that sees me as a threat instead of a blessing. Goodbye, Keen. She turned and walked away. And this time, he did not follow. Neka moved into a tiny one-room apartment on the outskirts of the city. It was all she could afford with her small savings. The walls were thin, the plumbing was unreliable, and the neighbors were loud. But it was hers. No one here judged her background or questioned her worth. For the first 3 days, she cried. She cried for the love she had lost, for the humiliation she had endured, for the future she had imagined that would never be. But on the fourth day, she dried her tears and opened her laptop. The dream code she had been working on for years stared back at her from the screen. Lines of programming that represented her vision for a platform that could revolutionize how businesses and customers connected. It was brilliant. She knew it was brilliant. But she had put aside when she got engaged, thinking she would have time to develop it later, after the wedding, after settling into married life. Now there would be no wedding, no settling into someone else's life, only her own path to forge. She pulled up the code and began working. At first, it was just a distraction, a way to fill the empty hours. But slowly, it became something more, a purpose, a mission, a way to prove to herself and the world that her worth was not determined by any family name or bank account. She worked 16-hour days, surviving on instant noodles and coffee, coding until her eyes burned and her fingers cramped. And slowly, painfully, her platform began to take shape. With a working prototype in hand, NECA began approaching investors. She created a pitch deck, practiced her presentation, and scheduled meetings with venture capital firms across the city. But meeting after meeting ended the same way. Interesting idea, but you lack experience. Come back when you have a track record. We prefer to invest in founders with established backgrounds. Established backgrounds. It was the Obi family's contempt all over again, dressed in polite business language. They did not care about her idea. They cared about her pedigree, her connections, her social status. One investor, a middle-aged man in an expensive suit, looked her up and down and said, "Young lady, tech is a competitive space. You need more than a good idea. You need credibility. Who are your family connections? What prestigious university did you attend?" When she told him the name of her small, affordable college, he smiled condescendingly. "I see. Well, perhaps you should gain more experience before attempting something this ambitious." She left his office, fighting back tears of frustration. Was the whole world like the Obi family? Would she be judged forever by things beyond her control? Rent was due, and her savings were nearly gone. Eviction notices appeared on her door. She sold her few pieces of jewelry, then her phone, replacing it with a basic model. She ate one meal a day to make her money stretch. And still, she coded, because giving up would mean they were right. It would mean she was nothing without someone else's name, someone else's wealth. And she refused to believe that. At her lowest point, with eviction just days away, NECA saw a flyer for a free coding workshop at the public library. The speaker was Chief Dyke, a retired tech pioneer who had built and sold several successful companies before stepping away from the industry. NECA had no money for lunch, but she had time, and maybe, just maybe, she could learn something that would help her survive another month. The workshop was held in a cramped room with folding chairs and flickering fluorescent lights. About 20 people attended, most of them young and struggling like her. Chief Dyke was a man in his 60s with kind eyes and a quiet authority. He did not lecture them about success or wealth. Instead, he talked about failure, about rejection, about the years he'd spent building things nobody believed in. "They will tell you that you are not good enough," he said, "that you do not have the right background, the right connections, the right pedigree, and you will start to believe them. But here's what I learned. The only opinion that matters is the one you have of yourself." At the end of the workshop, NECA approached him nervously. "Chief, may I show you something?" He nodded, and she pulled out her battered laptop and showed him her prototype. For 10 minutes, he said nothing, just clicking through her platform, testing features, examining the code. Then he looked up at her, his eyes sharp and assessing. "Who taught you to code like this?" "Books," she said. "The internet." "Myself." He smiled. "What is your name?" "NECA." "NECA, you are sitting on a gold mine, and you do not even know it." Chief Dyke invited NECA to his office the following week. It was a modest space, nothing like the flashy investor firm she had visited before. He made her tea, listened to her full story, the engagement, the prenup, the rejections, and when she finished, he leaned back in his chair. "They called you a Golddigger." She nodded, shame burning her cheeks. He laughed, not cruelly, but with genuine amusement. "The irony. You're sitting on actual gold, a revolutionary idea, and they dismissed you because you did not come wrapped in the right package. He leaned forward. Neka, I want to invest in you. Not because I pity you, but because I recognize genius when I see it. Your platform solves a problem that billion-dollar companies have been struggling with for years. Her heart pounded. You want to invest? How much? Enough to keep you fed, housed, and focused on building this properly. In exchange, I want 15% equity and the right to mentor you through the growth phase. It was the most generous offer she had received. Most investors wanted 50% or more. Why are you doing this? She asked suspiciously. Why me? Chief Dyke smiled. Because 30 years ago, I was you. Poor, rejected, told I would never amount to anything. Someone gave me a chance, and I never forgot it. Now I'm passing it on. Tears filled Neka's eyes. I do not know what to say. Say yes. Then get to work. You have a company to build. She said yes. Under Chief Dyke's mentorship, everything changed. He did not just provide funding. He provided wisdom. He taught her how to refine her platform, focusing on user experience and market fit. He introduced her to engineers, designers, and business strategists who saw her vision and wanted to be part of it. Your idea is brilliant, Chief Dyke told her one afternoon. But brilliance alone does not build a company. You need discipline, strategy, and the ability to pivot when necessary. He taught her how to pitch to the right people, how to negotiate contracts, how to protect her intellectual property. Most importantly, he taught her to believe in herself, even when others did not. The platform evolved. What had started as a rough prototype became sleek, intuitive, and powerful. They named it Apex Connect, a platform that seamlessly bridged businesses and consumers, using AI-driven personalization and real-time connectivity that no competitor could match. Chief Dyke brought in early beta testers, small businesses desperate for better customer engagement. The response was overwhelming. This is exactly what we needed. How did no one think of this before? Who built this? They're a genius. Within 6 months, Apex Connect launched publicly. Within a year, it had 50,000 users. Within 2 years, it had 5 million. Investors who had once rejected Neka now begged to buy in. But she remembered every face that had dismissed her, every person who had judged her background over her brain. And she turned them all down. Apex Connect grew faster than anyone had predicted. Tech magazines called it revolutionary. Business journals profiled its meteoric rise. But Neka remained intensely private. She rarely gave interviews and never revealed her face in photographs, preferring to let her work speak for itself. Why do you hide? Chief Dyke asked her once. You should take credit for what you have built. Neka shook her head. I did not build this for fame or validation. I built it to prove something to myself, that my worth was never about where I came from. But there was another reason too, one she did not say aloud. She did not want Keen or his family to find her. She did not want them to know what she had become. Not yet. She poured everything into the company. Her time, her energy, her brilliance. She hired people who had been overlooked like her, who had genius but lacked pedigree. Her team was fiercely loyal, not because she paid the most, but because she valued them. Under her leadership, Apex Connect became more than a business. It became a movement, a testament to what could be achieved when talent was valued over status. By the 4th year, the company's valuation reached $2 billion. Neka, the Golddigger with no assets, was now one of the wealthiest women in the country. But the money meant nothing compared to what she had truly gained. Respect earned, not given. Self-worth built, not borrowed. And the satisfaction of knowing that everyone who had underestimated her had been proven catastrophically wrong. While Neka's star rose, the Obi family's fortunes fell. Their import-export business, built on traditional models and personal connections, struggled to adapt to the digital age. Younger, tech-savvy companies disrupted their markets. Customers migrated to online platforms that offered better prices and faster service. Mama Obi, stubbornly traditional, refused to modernize. We have always done business this way, she insisted. Our reputation is built on personal relationships, not computers. But reputation could not compete with efficiency. Their profit margins shrank. Contracts were lost to competitors. Employees left for companies that offered better technology and innovation. Keen, now managing the family business, watched helplessly as everything his grandfather had built crumbled. He proposed digital transformation strategies, hiring tech consultants, building an online presence. But each initiative failed because the company's foundation was too outdated to support modern solutions. At night, alone in his office, Keen would sometimes think of Neka. He had tried to reach out to her after she left, but she had blocked his number, changed her address, and disappeared from his life completely. He wondered where she was, if she was happy, if she had built the platform she used to talk about with such passion. He tried searching for her online, but found nothing. It was as if she had vanished. Meanwhile, his family's business continued its slow collapse, and he could do nothing to stop it. The irony was bitter. He had chosen his family's wealth over the woman he loved, and now both were slipping through his fingers. By the 5th year, the Obi family faced bankruptcy. Debts piled up. Assets were sold. The mansion, once a symbol of their status, had a for sale sign on the gate. Mama Obi, her pride shattered, barely left her room. The siblings who had once smirked at Neka now worked multiple jobs to keep food on the table. And Keen, desperately trying to save what little remained, searched for a lifeline. That lifeline came from an unexpected source. A business consultant suggested they needed to partner with a modern tech company that could digitize their operations and connect them to new markets. There is one company that dominates this space, the consultant said. Apex Connect. They have technology that could save you, but getting their attention will not be easy. They are very selective about partnerships. Keen researched Apex Connect obsessively. The company's success story was inspiring. A mysterious founder who had built an empire from nothing, who valued innovation over pedigree, who had disrupted entire industries. But the founder was notoriously private. No photos, no interviews, just a name on corporate documents. And Okafor. Keen tried every channel, emails, phone calls, formal proposals. All were rejected with polite, automated responses. Finally, after 6 months of persistence, he received a message. Apex Connect will consider a meeting with Obi Enterprises. CEO N. Okafor will meet with you personally. Next Monday, 10 a.m. Come prepared. Keen's hand shook as he read the email. This was their last chance. He would have to make the pitch of his life. The night before the meeting, Keen could not sleep. He reviewed his presentation 100 times, memorized every statistic, prepared answers to every possible question. His family's entire future rested on this one meeting. At breakfast, Mama Obi, looking older and frilier than he had ever seen her, placed her hand on his. Keen, you must succeed today. Our name, our legacy, everything depends on it. He nodded, the weight of expectation crushing his chest. He arrived at the Apex Connect headquarters 30 minutes early. The building was stunning, all glass and steel, modern and imposing, the kind of structure that announced success and innovation. Security escorted him to the top floor. The executive suite was minimalist but elegant, clean lines, natural light, and a view of the city that stretched for miles. CEO Okafor will see you now, the assistant said, gesturing to a large office with floor-to-ceiling windows. Keen entered, his pitch materials clutched in his sweating hands. The office was empty except for a figure standing with her back to him, looking out over the city. She was dressed in a perfectly tailored navy suit, her posture confident and commanding. Mr. Obi, a voice said, and something about it made his blood run cold. Thank you for coming. The figure turned around slowly, and Keen's world stopped. Standing before him, no longer the humble girl in modest dresses, but a powerful CEO in an office that commanded respect, was Neka. His Neka, the woman his family had called a Golddigger, the woman he had failed to defend, the woman whose worth they had dismissed as nothing. She smiled, calm and professional. Please have a seat. Let's discuss your proposal. Keen stood frozen, his mouth open, unable to form words. His brain struggled to reconcile the image before him with the memory of the crying woman who had walked away from his family's dinner table 5 years ago. Neka, he finally managed to whisper. She gestured to the chair across from her massive desk. Yes. Though in this office, people call me CEO Okafor. Please sit down. He stumbled into the chair, his legs no longer reliable. You are the founder of Apex Connect? I am. Her voice was calm, professional, and completely devoid of the warmth she once had when she looked at him. I built it from the ground up. Took about 5 years of nonstop work, but as you can see, it turned out rather well. She sat down across from him, crossing her legs, every inch the powerful executive. Now, I understand your company is interested in a partnership. I have reviewed your proposal, and I must say, OB Enterprises is in quite a desperate situation. Keen's face burned with shame. Neck, I did not know it was you. If I had known what... She tilted her head slightly. Would you not have come? Would you have sent someone else? Or would you have prepared differently, knowing that the Golddigger you once almost married is now the only person who can save your family's failing business? The word Golddigger hung in the air like poison. I never called you that, he said weakly. No, she agreed. You just sat silently while your mother did, which in many ways was worse. Silence fell between them, heavy with history and pain. Finally, Neka opened a drawer and pulled out a folder. Let's get back to business. That is why you are here, is it not? Neka spread several documents across the desk. Your company is hemorrhaging money because you have failed to adapt to digital commerce. Your supply chain is outdated, your customer engagement is non-existent, and your market share is evaporating. Her tone was clinical, detached, as if she were discussing a stranger's problems. Apex Connect could solve all of that. Our platform could modernize your operations, connect you to new markets, and potentially save your business. Keen leaned forward desperately. Then you'll help us? Neka, please, my family. She held up one hand, stopping him. I said we could help. I did not say we would. She pulled out another document, one that made Keen's blood turn to ice. It was the prenuptial agreement. The one his mother had forced Neka to sign 5 years ago. The one that had humiliated her. Neka's finger traced the printed words. The bride's lack of family wealth, absence of substantial assets, inferior social connections, and questionable motives for pursuing this union. That is what your family thought of me. That is what you let them write about me. She looked up, and for the first time, he saw a flash of the pain beneath her professional mask. Tell me, Keen, do you still think I lack substantial assets? He could not meet her eyes. Neka, I am sorry. I was weak. I should have defended you. I should have, she interrupted. The words of cowards and failures. I did not build this company on should-haves. I built it on action, on determination, on proving every single person who underestimated me absolutely wrong. She leaned back in her chair. Your family called me a gold digger. Ironic, is it not? Because now you are here, literally begging for the gold I created myself. Keen's hands trembled. What do you want from me? Revenge? To humiliate me the way we humiliated you. Neka considered this. Honestly, I wanted nothing from you. For 5 years, I focused entirely on building this company, on proving to myself that I was worth more than any family name or dowry. I succeeded. I do not need revenge. I already won. She tapped the prenup. But since you are here, since your family's survival now depends on my decision, I think some acknowledgement is in order. She picked up her desk phone. Mr. Obi, I need you to call your mother. Right now. On speakerphone. Keen's face went pale. Neka, please, do it, or this meeting is over, and your family's business goes under within 6 months. Your choice. With shaking hands, Keen pulled out his phone and dialed his mother's number. It rang 3 times before Mama Obi answered, her voice sharp. Keen, have you secured the partnership? Neka nodded at him to respond. Mama, I am here in the CEO's office at Apex Connect. They have you on speakerphone. Good. Tell this CEO person that the Obi family has a prestigious reputation, and Mama, Keen interrupted, his voice breaking. The CEO is Neka. Silence. Complete, absolute silence. Then, in a voice barely recognizable, what did you say? Neka leaned forward toward the phone. Hello, Mama Obi. It is good to hear your voice again. This is N. Okafor. The gold digger you threw out of your home 5 years ago. The one with questionable motives and no substantial assets. It seems my assets are substantial enough to save your failing company. If I choose to, that is. The silence on the other end of the phone stretched so long that Keen thought his mother had hung up. But then he heard something he had never heard before. His mother's voice, small and trembling. Neka? Is it truly you? It is. You built Apex Connect? I did. After your family threw me out, after every investor rejected me for lacking the right pedigree, I built this company from nothing. Just like you predicted I would do. Except I did not need to marry your son to do it. Mama Obi's breathing was audible over the phone, ragged and uneven. We made a mistake. You made several, Neka corrected. But your biggest mistake was assuming that a person's worth is measured by their family name or bank balance. I had neither when I met Keen. But I had something far more valuable: intelligence, determination, and the ability to create value from nothing. She glanced at Keen, whose head was bowed in shame. Your son could have been part of this success. We could have built it together. But you chose pride over partnership, status over substance. And now, here you are at my mercy. The sound of crying came through the phone. Mama Obi, the proud matriarch who had never shown weakness, was weeping. Please, she whispered. Please help us. I was wrong. I was so wrong about you. Neka's face remained impassive. Was that an apology, Mama Obi? Because it sounded more like begging. It is both, the older woman said, her voice broken. I apologize. For everything. For calling you names. For humiliating you. For not seeing your value. Please, Neka, do not let our family fall because of my pride. Neka ended the call without another word, leaving Mama Obi's apology hanging in the air. She turned her attention back to Keen, who looked like he wanted to disappear into the floor. That must have been hard for her, Neka said, apologizing to the girl she once deemed unworthy. Keen's voice was hoarse. Neka, I know I do not deserve your forgiveness. I know I failed you in the worst possible way. But please, do not punish my entire family because of my weakness. She studied him for a long moment. You think I am punishing you? Keen, punishment would be refusing to meet with you at all. What I'm offering is business. Cold, fair, completely transactional business. She pulled up a contract on her tablet and turned it toward him. Here are my terms. Apex Connect will license our technology to OB Enterprises. You will integrate our platform into your operations, giving you access to our customer base and digital infrastructure. In exchange, you will pay us 30% of your gross revenue for the next 10 years, with option to renegotiate if your company returns to profitability. Keen's eyes widened. 30%? That is more than fair, Neka finished. Considering we are saving you from bankruptcy. Other companies would kill for access to our technology at any price. You are getting a lifeline because, despite everything, I do not wish to see your family destroyed. Not because I love you anymore, I do not, but because I have evolved beyond petty revenge. She slid the contract across the desk. These terms are non-negotiable. Sign it or walk away. Your choice. Keen picked up the contract with trembling hands and began to read. Every clause was airtight, every term calculated to be fair but firm. There was no room for manipulation, no loopholes, no advantage for OB Enterprises beyond the access to technology that could save them. This is a good deal, he said quietly, looking up at her. More generous than we deserve. I know, Neka replied, because I'm not your family. I do not measure my success by how much I can take from others or how many people I can look down upon. I measure it by what I build and who I lift up. She leaned forward slightly. But I need you to understand something, Keen. This company, Apex Connect, was built on the very idea I was developing when your mother called me a gold digger. Remember? I used to tell you about my platform, about my vision for connecting businesses and customers in revolutionary ways. You listened. You encouraged me. You said you believed in me. She pulled up an old email on her screen. One Keen had sent her 6 years ago, before the engagement, before everything fell apart. In it, he had written, Your idea is brilliant, Neka. One day, you're going to change the world with this. I'm so proud to be with someone as talented as you. You said you were proud, Neka said softly, the first crack in her professional armor. But when it mattered, when your family attacked me, you were silent. You chose them over me, over us, over everything we could have built together. Keen's eyes filled with tears. I know. It is the biggest regret of my life. Good, she said, her voice hardening again. Live with it. Let it teach you something about courage and loyalty. Neka stood and walked to the window, looking out over the city. When I left your family's house that night, I had nothing. 300,000 naira in savings, a laptop, and a dream everyone told me was impossible. I was evicted twice. I went days without eating. Investors looked at me like I was trash because I did not have the right last name or connections. She turned back to face him. But I kept coding. I kept building. Because I realized something, your family was never going to give me value. I had to create it myself. She walked back to the desk and picked up the prenuptial agreement, holding it between them. This document says I had no substantial assets. Do you know what my net worth is today, Keen? He shook his head, unable to speak. $2.3 billion. And climbing. She let the number hang in the air, watching him process it. So, tell me, was your mother right? Did I lack assets? Or did I simply lack the opportunity to show what I could build when given a chance? Keen's tears fell freely now. She was wrong. I was wrong. Everyone was wrong about you. Neka nodded slowly. Yes, you were. And the saddest part? If you had defended me that night, if you had stood up to your family and said, this woman is brilliant and I will not let you treat her this way, we could have built this together. You could have been my partner in every sense. But you chose silence. And silence, Keen, is a choice too. She placed the prenup in front of him next to the licensing contract. So here's what I want you to do. Take both of these documents back to your mother. Show her the prenup she made me sign, the one that called me worthless. Then show her the contract that proves exactly how worthless I turn out to be. Let her see what her pride cost your family. Keen looked at both documents, the old one mocking Neka's worth, the new one proving it beyond any doubt. Will you sign a licensing deal? He asked quietly. Neka picked up a pen. I will, because unlike your family, I honor my commitments and I deal fairly. She signed her name with a flourish. But understand this, we are not friends. We are not family. We are business partners, nothing more. And if OB Enterprises fails to meet the terms of this contract, I will not hesitate to enforce the penalties. Is that clear? Yes, Keen whispered. Crystal clear. As Keen gathered the documents, preparing to leave, he paused at the door. Neka, can I ask you something? She looked up from her computer, her expression neutral. What? Are you happy? The question seemed to catch her off guard. For a moment, the CEO mask slipped, and he saw something of the woman he once knew. Vulnerable, human, real. Happy. She considered the word. I am successful. I am respected. I have built something that matters. Is that the same as happy? I do not know anymore. She stood and walked toward him, stopping a few feet away. But I will tell you what I am. I am free. Free from needing anyone's approval. Free from measuring my worth by what family I marry into or what people think of my background. I am free from you, Keen. And yes, that makes me something close to happy. He nodded, understanding that he had lost her completely. Not just as a fiancé, but as someone who would ever look at him with love again. I wish I could go back, he said, his voice breaking. I wish I could be the man you needed me to be. But you cannot, Neka said simply. None of us can go back. We can only move forward with the lessons we have learned. She extended her hand for a professional handshake. Thank you for your business, Mr. Obi. My team will be in touch with implementation details next week. He took her hand, the hand he had once held with love and promises, and shook it formally. Thank you, CEO Okafor, for everything. As he turned to leave, Neka spoke one last time. Keen, he looked back. Teach your family something. Teach them that a person's worth is never about where they come from. It is about what they build with their own hands and the integrity they show when no one is watching. If they learn that lesson, maybe this failure will turn into wisdom. He nodded, unable to speak, and walked out of her office, carrying the documents that told two very different stories about the same woman. After Keen left, NECA stood at the window for a long time, watching the city below. Her assistant knocked gently. CEO Okafor, your next meeting is in 10 minutes. Cancel it, NECA said quietly. I need a moment. When she was alone again, she pulled the prenuptial agreement from her desk drawer. She had kept a copy all these years, not out of bitterness, but as a reminder of where she had started, of what she had overcome, of the price of letting others define her. She read through the cruel words one more time, due to the bride's lack of lineage, assets, and social standing. And then she did something she should have done years ago. She fed it into the paper shredder beside her desk. The machine hummed, and the document that had once represented her deepest humiliation was reduced to thin strips of paper, meaningless and powerless. I am not what you wrote, she whispered to the memory of Mama Obi, to the ghost of her younger self. I never was. Chief Dyke appeared at her door, knocking softly. I heard Kenobi was here. Are you all right? NECA turned to face her mentor, her friend, the man who had believed in her when no one else would. I am better than all right, she said, and she meant it. I just finished some old business. He smiled knowingly. How did it feel? Showing them what they lost. Like closure, she admitted. Like finally putting down a weight I did not even realize I was still carrying. They sat together in comfortable silence. Two people who understood that success was not about revenge. It was about becoming so undeniably excellent that your critics' opinions became irrelevant. Weeks later, NECA stood on the stage at a tech conference, giving the keynote speech she had been avoiding for years. The audience of thousands waited in anticipation. Cameras flashed. For the first time, she was allowing her face and her story to be public. My name is NECA Okafor, she began, her voice strong and clear. And I am the founder and CEO of Apex Connect. Many of you know my company, but few know my story. She told them everything, not in detail, but in essence, about being judged by her background, about being called a gold digger by people who could not see past their own privilege, about building a billion-dollar company from a cramped apartment with nothing but a laptop and determination. They told me I had no assets, she said, her voice ringing through the auditorium. And they were right. I had no family money, no trust fund, no connections. But I had something they could not measure. I had vision, discipline, and the refusal to let anyone else define my worth. The audience erupted in applause. She continued over the noise, her eyes shining. To everyone who's been told they are not good enough, not connected enough, not wealthy enough to succeed, I'm here to tell you they are wrong. Your worth is not measured by the family you were born into. It is measured by what you build with your own hands, by the integrity you show when challenged, and by the courage you find when everyone else has given up on you. More applause, louder this time. In the front row, Chief Dyke watched with tears in his eyes, proud of the woman his mentee had become. And somewhere across the city, in a smaller house than they once lived in, the Obi family watched the speech on television. Mama Obi sat in silence, watching the woman she had dismissed become a symbol of everything she should have valued, but was too blind to see. Keen watched too, his heart breaking and healing at the same time, finally understanding what he had lost. The speech ended, but NECA's story was just beginning. She had proven that true net worth was never about marriage, family names, or prenuptial agreements. It was about the strength of character and the power of a mind that refused to be limited by others' narrow definitions. And as she walked off that stage to thunderous applause, NECA smiled, not with bitterness or revenge, but with the quiet satisfaction of someone who had finally, completely, written her own story. The prenup was shredded. The past was finished. And the future, built by her own brilliant hands, stretched out before her like an open road with no limits in sight. If this story touched your soul, comment worth below. Because you're never a gold digger when you mine the gold from within your own mind. Your value is not determined by who accepts you. It is determined by what you build when everyone rejects you. Subscribe and share this with someone who needs to remember that the opinions of small minds cannot limit the achievements of a determined spirit. Drop your city in the comments, and let's build a community of people who refuse to be defined by others' limitations. Because in the end, your true net worth is written not in prenuptial agreements, but in the legacy you create with your own two hands.